TOA, Fit Body Forever, and Fit Body Bootcamp communities. What's up, everybody? I am Robert Linkul, your Director of Education at Fit Body Bootcamp and owner of TOA, trainingtheolderadult.com. Welcome back to the channel here. We are going to dive into something that I thought was a pretty interesting topic. I made a whole presentation here for us to go through this. And basically, it's taking a look at if you decided to actually do all the things that all the experts tell you to do, could you actually fit all that in? Are they really good strategies to do? And how much time would you have left in your day? And so I kind of want to just give you like a quick overview, if you will, in the next 20 minutes or so, where we'll kind of dive into that. But first things first, some news and announcements I have coming up. Starting on, June 13th, and 14th, I'm speaking on the 14th, we have an online presentation we're doing with the Functional Aging Institute. Dan and Cody over there, great guys, presenting on their online summit there. I have a really fun presentation I'm going to be giving on Saturday, and I believe I'm on at like 11 o'clock Eastern, something like that. So you'll see more information on that coming out. And then just a few days later, starting on June 16th, I am starting our call to action, free webinar training series. We are going to teach you, these are half-hour little mini webinars we're doing every Monday at 12 o'clock, and we're going to go for 6 weeks, and we're going to teach you all about sarcopenia, osteopenia, all the big concerns that we have, why this is such a need of call for action, how all of you can give this presentation, this talk, where to give it, how to give it, and how to ultimately spread the word on sarcopenia, what a big issue it is, how resistance training will help people improve their quality of life, and hopefully earn some new business all at the same time. So going to be a fun little 6-week, 30 minutes a week commitment there. We're looking forward to spending that time with all of you as we go through it. Okay, so this is all the strategies to living a longer life, all kind of molded into one, right? And if you did it in a daily or if not a weekly practice, how much of this is real? How much of it can you fit in, et cetera? So what are we going to cover? We're going to cover information that you will see and or hear from many different experts that discuss some of these topics in greater detail, and I'll tell you all those as we go. The majority of these folks can be seen on Joe Rogan. And then they all have their own platforms and they all have their own social medias and such. You have Dr. Peter Attia at the top, Dr. Andy Galpin in the middle, Dr. Stacy Sims in the top right, Dr. Belinda Beck. Andrea Beck was my college coach. Belinda Beck there in the middle, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, Derek for more dates, more plates, more dates. You've got Dr. Andrew Huberman down the bottom, Dr. Lane Norton, and Dr. Susan, I always say her last name wrong, Nightingale, I think is how you say it. I always say it wrong. Susan, I apologize. You need to teach me how to say it properly. I'm going to look it up here really quick just to make sure that I'm saying it. Nibergal. I don't know. Help me out, Susan. My apologies. All right. So from all of those folks, and again, the majority of them have been on the Joe Rogan podcast. You can check it out on there. We're going to talk about resistance training. We're going to talk about cardiovascular training, specifically our focus and our look at rucking. We're going to get into supplements. We're going to get into recovery process. And we're going to dive into sleep. Now, recovery and sleep are two different things. They're both under the same window, recovery window. However, sleep is a little bit different of a product or a component for us to address, as there's different things specifically under there that are just to help you get better at sleep. So we'll dive into that as we go as well. All right, first, let's get into resistance training. Here are our strategies and our philosophy. Again, I know my audience here, so we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. 2 to 4 days a week, I think, is extremely helpful. 2 days where you're going to get high intensity resistance training. These should be anywhere from 15 to 45 minute long sessions or bouts of high intensity resistance training. And then your 2 kind of pure strength days, they can be a little slower. You can focus a little bit more on lifting, a little bit more recovery in between, maybe some heavier loads. You could focus on some eccentrics of your compound movements, your hinges, your rows, your pushes, your pulls, like just allowing that 3, maybe 4-second eccentric return. And then one of those days could be maybe a little bit more power-based, where you're slamming or you're vertical tossing or swinging, snatching, clean and jerks, clean and press, right? Chest passes, hammer tosses, those types of things, pivot point presses, dynamic explosive pulls, flywheels, anything that you can be dynamic, fast, explosive, and either let go or move load really quickly and or your body weight really quickly if you are healthy enough to do so. Considering we work with most coaches that are working with older populations, I'm not a huge fan of implementing plyometrics of the original, like, kind of implementation or design of plyos, where we're doing bounds and skips and depth jumps and that, because the aging body like this it's going to take a long time to condition their body to really do those types of movements safely. And if you're working with somebody who's late 50s, 60s, 70s, like, the injury risk for trying to move dynamically and explosively and jumping is really, really high. If anything, just little dynamic rebounds, little jumps in place are a really good place to start and to start to implement in some type of plyometric response where you're leaving the ground, and to test the Achilles and the gastroc and the arch of the foot and your big toe joint, the hallucis joint, etc. across the board. It's a little touchy. So I would rather keep them on the ground and teach them how to propel all that momentum into an implement, and thus making them more explosive, okay? Now, we also can put in auxiliary lifts, and when we say 1 to 2 times a week, that doesn't mean now those are days 5 and 6. It means at the end of your high intensity day, like, spend 10 minutes and do some biceps and triceps and calf pumps and anterior tib raises and wrist curls, and any of the little auxiliary stuff is totally fine. 1 to 2 times a week, I think, is good. Basically chase the pump a little bit, try to get your arms nice and, pumped up and swollen. And that's all great stuff. I mean, look at that picture of Susan we had back on here, how awesome her arms and her back look. Like, that's what we want. We want you to carry musculature in all these forms and fashions. And we know that our higher intensities are going to give us a cardiovascular component, but with load in hand, that's where it's hurt, not hit. We have that resistance there to really kind of target that perfect zone 2 area. So you're going to hear Dr. Galpin, Dr. Attia, Dr. Huberman, Dr. Gabrielle, Dr. Sims, almost all of them are going to talk about zone 2 training and how beneficial that is to increasing muscle mass, burning ideal optimal adipose tissue. So now I'm going to get a little leaner. I'm going to either gain and or maintain my muscle mass, and I'm not going to lose either side, which is really what we want. And zone 2 training is somewhere around 100 to, let's say, 90 to 120 beats per minute, okay? And if you're somewhere in that range, you're in a good zone to where you're going to maintain and hang on to your muscle mass. You're not working too hard. And on the other side, you're going to burn away some body fat, ideally. And as long as your nutrition is on point, you're going to do really well. So there's our resistance training components for us to think about as we work our way through that. So we're looking at, 2 to 4 days a week of resistance training. What do we do on the other days? Because I am a fan of you doing something every single day. Some people like to take a rest day, whatever it is, Saturday, Sunday, whatever you want to do. That's fine. I like to be active every day. So even on my quote unquote recovery days, I'm going to come out here. I'm going to do a bunch of mobility work. I'm going to loosen up my body. I might do a little bit of auxiliaries. I might do 10, 15, 20 minutes of arms and some calves or whatnot. And then I'm going to go out and I'm going to cut the lawn and I'm going to chop wood and I'm going to, play with the kids, teach the girls how to throw discus. Like I'm just going to be active. We're going to be out doing stuff, on that day, even though I didn't do like a hard training session like I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I go out for my rucks. And the value of the ruck, as you can see in this little infographic here, it's a good combination of cardio and strength training. That's true. Especially for you ladies out there, 3 to 1, you're more likely to get osteoporosis than us fellas, unfortunately. And that's going to occur in 2 different stages of life. It's going to happen perimenopausal, where you're kind of entering into that I'm about to get into having a menopausal hormonal response. You're going to see a big drop in hormones that are going to address or help you address your bone density response. And if you're not resistance training prior to that, this is, a pretty drastic time in life where bone density is going to really reduce and you are at higher risk for injury, fracture, etc. Then once things level a little bit as you go through menopause, and by level, I mean the fluctuation of hormones continue to happen over this, 5 to 8 years, whatever it is. And then once that kind of levels off again, post-menopause, well, now we've got another drop from having fluctuating hormones to no hormones. So now you're going to have another response where the bones become even more susceptible. So if we're not doing something through that whole thing, which a lot of this is going to address, supplements, sleep, all this good stuff, the rucking can be a very good way for us to do that. You can ruck in 2 different ways, wearing a weighted vest or a weighted rucksack, a backpack. Either one is good. I like to advise that if you're going to go out for more than 30 to 45 minutes, then you should buy a ruck so you can have the hip support. It takes pressure off of your traps and your shoulders. If you're going to go 30 to 35, 40 minutes, somewhere in there, a vest will be fine. Your traps will fatigue, but you'll eventually build up a good tolerance and be able to, maintain that vest for a solid half hour to 45 minutes, no problem. Now, some could go more or less. I'm just giving you some general guidelines, but our goal is to start really, really light and with short distances, 2 to 3 days a week. Go out 10 minutes away, 10 minutes back. That's it. 3, 4, 5 pounds in your ruck or your vest or whatever you're wearing. And over months, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, gradually add 1 or 2 pounds every other month or so until 6 to 12 months, you build up to about 10% of your body weight. Now, some will tell you can go up to 20 or 30% of your body weight. I think 10% is fine, and that's a great place for people to stay. So if you're 130 pounds, that's 13 pounds, maybe rounded up to 15, maybe, right? After a year or so doing this, that's plenty of weight. And I want you to remember this. Every step that you take, 15, 30, 45, 60, right? I mean, that weight's going to add up super quick, and your body has to adjust to doing that. So if you get a ruck and you just throw 30 pounds in there and go, and you've been walking with nothing but your body weight, your traps are going to hurt, your shoulders are going to hurt, your hips are probably going to hurt, your feet are going to hurt because you just took 30, 60, 90 pounds in 3 steps. Like you go out for 2-3 miles, that's a lot. If you are not conditioned for that, it's going to have a return. So soreness, achiness, etc. We've got to build up to this. And especially if you're over 55, 60, you really want to take this slow and consistent. So a vest, 2 pounds in the front, 2 pounds in the back, go do your 1 mile walk, do that every other day or so, and do that for a month. And then add a pound or 2 to each side and just slowly build this up. Seek hills, undulate speeds, go faster and slower. Fartlek is another name for that, where you could go as fast as you can, power walking for 2 minutes and then recover walk for 1 and do that over and over again. Just have fun with it. Proper gear. I love having rucks, good backpacks that have hip support to them. It does take a lot of pressure off the neck. It also places more pressure on the hips, where if you've had hip replacements or hip injuries, this is a good way to address some load there. If you have disc compression issues, wearing the ruck is ideal because it's going to put the majority of the weight on your hips now, and the straps more or less just hold the backpack vertical onto your frame. You can lighten them up enough to where your hips take most of it. Hiking backpacks are really well designed for this, and that's sort of the idea. Really, when you're rucking, you want the plate and the weight as high up on your shoulders as you can. You don't really want any of the weight sitting down on your back. You just want the base of the support of the pressure sitting on the hips to hold that weight up there in that high position. That's where Go Ruck, I have no affiliation to the company, Go Ruck makes an excellent backpack, an excellent ruck, and I advise you to check them out. If this is something you get into and you want to do it on the regular, I think a high quality footwear is really, really good. I think it's called the Lone Pine from... it begins with an A. It'll come to me here in a second. Ultra, like ULT, like Ultra, but with an A. And they make great footwear. The Lone Pine is their rucking hiking boot. I love it. You got to take care of your feet no matter what you do. Everybody out there, if you're not doing this, I strongly advise you, every night you go to get in bed, you sit down on your bed and you're like, I'm ready to lay down now and put my head on the pillow. Grab 1 pump of lotion, rub it in both of your hands, and rub 1 hand on your right foot and 1 hand on your left foot, and then tuck your body into bed and go to sleep. And just simply by doing that, you will save your feet decades of deterioration and damage that lead to infection and disease and all kinds of other stuff. Just lotion and take care of your feet once a day. It'll go a long way. You should do more than that, but I've got a whole routine and weird obsession with taking care of my feet, but I know how important it is. I watched Platoon early on in my life and found out, okay, you got to take care of your feet. This is super important. All right, supplements. Let's get into this a little bit. Number one, always talk to your doctor before you try any of this stuff. Make sure you are covering your bases. If you have kidney issues, any other issues, anything that's, we're going to talk about this stuff, but you need to do what's right and go talk to your doctor first and say, hey, I'm considering taking some of these supplements. Am I okay to do so, etc. For anyone with kidney issues, we don't want you to take creatine. You're not going to handle that very well. It actually could be damaging for you. So please don't just take the advice I'm about to talk about and just go. Creatine is the most researched supplement on earth. It is extremely safe. It is not a steroid. It's a great supplement to take, especially for our aging bodies. It does a good job for energy. It helps a ton with anti-fatigue. It does a great job on cognition, especially for those over the age of 50. We're talking 1 to 2 grams a day would be just fine. You could go up to maybe 3, 4, 5 grams a day. I wouldn't really do any more than that. And if you're a heavier resistance trainer, then the 5 grams a day would be fine. But really, if you're a smaller framed individual, 1 or 2 grams, a little bit bigger frame, let's say over 160 pounds, 2, 3, 4 grams a day would be fine. If you're over 200 pounds, you could probably do 5 grams a day. That'd be great. I wouldn't really go any heavier than that. You don't need to cycle it. Just whatever the number is that you're going to do it every day forever. Mix it into your coffee, mix it into your tea, whatever you want. It's tasteless. You just put it in there and off you go and you're good. It helps with your joints. It helps with recovery every time that you challenge or push yourself. It does a lot to help you recover, helps you in your sleep and with male fertility, as you see on here, female health, etc., improving your cardiovascular health all across the board. Creatine is quite good for you. Protein intake, especially as we age, very important. Collagen isn't a bad one to come in and help with your bones. Magnesium, vitamin C, turmeric, ashwagandha, calcium, all of these are good supplements, good vitamins, minerals to take. The turmeric helps a lot with anti-inflammatory components. Ashwagandha helps with digestion and with anxiety. I mean, they're very, very good. There's many more out there, but these are the ones that I'm familiar with and have used in the past. We have a company that we work with that makes turmeric and ashwagandha into pills. They have a liver, they have a bone, they've got a kidney, they got all kinds of other supplements that help just take care of a lot of your joints and whatnot. I will tag them in the link because the name of the company is escaping me right now. And coffee. Coffee is one of the last supplements here we talk about. This recent study, this one just came out like a few weeks ago, February 2025, excuse me, that talks about individuals that drink coffee, what time of day they drink coffee and how often they drink it, and how it has a connection to longevity and how long they live. And really what they found was individuals that drink coffee regularly, black coffee regularly early in the morning, had the longest longevity. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was a significant amount of time, like 5 or 6 years, if not more. You can go and check this out. Don't quote me on that. It might have been a different number. This was pretty solid information, and it was a ton of people. I mean, there were 40,000 people were studied for this, so it wasn't just like a handful of people who go to Starbucks. It was a large chunk for a large period of time. I think upwards of 20 years there. So really cool looking at some of that. Again, creatine's been studied for 35 years now. Lots of great information there. All right, some recovery components. This is where things can get rather fun, a little silly, but there are some on here that work really well, others that may do nothing for you, but I do believe it lies in the eye of the beholder, meaning if you think it works for you, then there's a lot that do. There are plenty of arguments out there that suggest cupping does nothing for your body. However, every time I cup any of my injuries or ailment bodies, I feel better. I feel like it does good work for me. Some people say dry needling does nothing. Others say it's the best thing. If they do that, everything feels better, helps with their headaches and their whatever. Acupressure, acupuncture, massage, like there's all kinds of stuff. So the first one is soak. A soak is a saltwater bath in a giant clamshell pill. Basically, it's this big thing that opens up and you climb in and you float in the salt water, so you're rather buoyant. You don't have to worry about falling asleep and drowning. You put in earplugs. I didn't do that the first time and got an ear infection, so keep that in mind. And you just basically submerge your head under. The water sits right at your cheek level, and you just float in the salt water, and the pill closes up. I know it sounds claustrophobic, but it's not that bad. It's open. It's a giant, like, imagine Ariel in the the what's the name of the movie? The Little Mermaid. And she, that huge shell opens up, and it's like that. It's like this giant capsule that you lay in, and it's kind of illuminated with blue light or green light, and it's very relaxing. And they can play music for you if you want. I can't handle silence. I have tinnitus in my ears, so I have this ringing when it's. So I put a little music while we go. It's very relaxing. It's very nice. And you sit there for about an hour. It can get a little boring if you meditate, etc. So it was cool. I didn't find a ton of value out of it, other than the fact that I did it and it was fun, and it was nice to lay in some warm water in a giant pill, and it was cool. Cold plunge. This one I really like. Time commitment, having a setup, all of that, investments for ice and the machines and all this, all cool. Tons of research about how great it was in the beginning. Then maybe not. And then, yes, it's got to be done days that you don't lift. And no, it's got to be done before you lift. And then it's got to be done 90 minutes after, 90 minutes. There's all kinds of information out there now. From what I understand, if you cold plunge, do it on days that you don't resistance train. And you want about 11 to 15 minutes of total ice plunging exposure during the week. So you could do, 2 minutes every other day, or, a minute and a half every day, whatever your routine is. But I would say, 3 minutes, 3 or 4 days a week would be sufficient. And temperature wise, anything under, 50 degrees, 50 degrees down to 34 degrees. Man, am I remembering that correctly? Basically the same benefits. It just became like, how much could you tolerate? So it doesn't necessarily have to be colder to be better. It just needs to be under 50 degrees. So I liked 48 degrees. Like, it was cold, and I'd get in and I could handle it, and I could do 5 minutes or so, and I felt great after. But a couple times I tried like 36 degrees or so. And my buddy John and I do this, and we kept kind of going down and down and down. And when I was shivering, I was cold afterwards, and didn't like it as much. And then we found, okay, not really better if I have longer exposure to colder water, or vice versa. Find what works for you. Again, experiment with that and give it a go. Sauna, awesome. This goes back hundreds of years of how good sauna is for you. Cupping, if you like to try that, I'm a fan. Dry needling, I've never done it, but a lot of people love that. Massage, acupressure, acupuncture, all kind of go in there, and have had great, historical value in there. And then you can have different types of massage, of course, and if you want it more sporting, or if you want it to deep tissue, etc. Your grounding is when you take off your shoes and you expose your feet to actual contact to the ground. Grass, sand, dirt, etc. Concrete, asphalt doesn't really work as well. So you want to stand on the grass and just let your feet have grounding exposures to the energy of the earth and so on. It might sound a little strange to some of you, and that's okay. Again, it's another therapy component that works for some and not so much for others. Red light therapy. My wife walks around with a Jason mask on her face every other day, the red lights on it, and it's awesome. Works really well for her. She likes it. It's a good treatment. Lots of our friends and colleagues use them as well. Some have full red light paneling in their house, like a corner in the house with all the red lights on them. That works too. There's bags, or basically sleeping bags you can lay in that have red light exposure through them. All kinds of cool stuff. Sun exposure, at least 20 minutes every day, I think is a good standard, where people are getting out, letting the sun, contact them, helps fight off scurvy, all the other good things. And then this one's a little unique, as you saw the picture there of the genital sun exposure. Apparently this is a thing, exposing your goodies to the sun. I would say probably do this in small amounts in the beginning and build up a tolerance. I don't think for most these are areas that see the sun all that often. I know that my arms can be exposed to the sun a whole hell of a lot longer than the top of my head can. And the top of my head sees the sun often. My arms see it a lot. What hasn't seen the sun a whole lot is the twig and berries. So I'm not going to expose that out to the sun for maybe more than a couple of minutes. If this is something you're going to try, I haven't done it and can't speak to it, but apparently it's a thing. So give it a shot. If you want to, I just suggest doing it in the privacy of your own home. And then fasting is another one. Some people really like to fast, 12 to 16 hours in between meals. They can drink coffee or water in between there, but basically you're kind of doing a reset every day to where your body starts to become more dependent for food during a smaller window of time. And the fasting component is a good bet. Up to you if you want to try that. People that take medication on a regular basis, some people get headaches if they don't eat often. We have family members that get hangry in our house. I'm one of them. We need food on a regular basis. So if it's not something that is going to work with your routine or whatnot, I wouldn't waste your time there. But some people love to fast. It works really well. Totally good on you. And then hydration. It's very important to have a significant amount of water every day. Everybody is different, and there's all kinds of different formulas out there. Add a 0 to your current body weight or the body weight you want to be, and that's how many ounces you need a day, or in kilos. So if I'm 100 kilos, then I need 100 ounces of water a day or something like that. And so it's like there's all kinds of different variables there. If you're an average sized adult, you should be getting somewhere between 6 and 8 glasses of water a day, which should be somewhere around 60 to 100 ounces of water. Remember, your food has a hydration component to it as well, so it doesn't always have to come just from measured water, but I think it's a better thing. Majority of people walking around out there are dehydrated, and so maybe placing greater emphasis on drinking a little bit more than worrying about not as much. I think it could only give you greater benefit. However, anything in excess can be dangerous, so just kind of keep that in mind. You don't have to do a ton of water. There are water bottles out there that are designed to, whatever your number is, it's going to flash or send a text message, or it's going to vibrate, or it's going to do something to say, hey, you're falling behind on your ounces. You need 4 ounces in the next 10 minutes. Let's go. Little reminders like that. Pretty cool. Okay. All right. On to sleep. You should be tired when you're ready to go to sleep, meaning you've done enough through the day that when sleep time comes, you're ready to put your head down and black out. And it should happen rather quickly. If you struggle and toss and turn and this and that, try doing more exercise or more exertion in your day. So when we talk to people about that, they exercise early in the morning and then they get tired and they end up napping in the middle of the day. And now that nap has taken away from the quality of sleep or the amount of sleep that you're going to get in the evening. So try to create a new habit where you exercise, you don't nap, you continue to be cognitively stimulated, physically engaged with things all day long. So not just sitting and watching television. You need to do things all day that encourage your body to say, at the end of the day, when all stimulus is done, it's time to shut this thing down and allow the recovery period to happen. And that should happen pretty damn quickly. If you do it right, it should be lights out and you should be asleep and ready to roll pretty quick. And if you're not, that's probably telling you that we're not fatiguing your system enough to where your neurological system's like, bro, I need you to unplug this thing and plug this thing in and let me charge up, right? I need to recover. So about 30 minutes before bed, not a bad idea to not do your phone or look at blue light or anything like that. We get in bed, we watch. Key and I don't really get a chance to watch anything without our kids. So we usually take about 45 minutes before we go to sleep to watch an episode of Bones or The Closer or some, mid to late 2000s show that we like. And we watch an episode of that. I fall asleep about 10 minutes in and she's up for a little bit longer. And then I wake up rather early to get my exercise and some of my work done. She sleeps a little bit later, so she does stay up a little longer, but we both get anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sleep. A little more on the 6 for me, a little more on the 8 for her, but those are the numbers that we feel we operate at pretty well. And everybody's different. Some people are going to need more or less. I used to think the whole I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing, or I'll sleep when I'm older. And then I got shingles and I saw my whole body start falling apart. And this was directly related to the fact that I was not sleeping enough. And so I place a lot of value on getting enough recovery and enough sleep. And that's even just time where maybe you're not sleeping, but just downtime, rest time, veg out time where your brain is off and it's focused on home improvement or whatever, Duck Dynasty, whatever show it is that you're watching. Just shut it off. Let your brain focus on something else. You don't always have to be pursuing the next level. You need to have some time where your brain can just kind of relax and chill out. And so when you go to sleep, ideally, the room should be really dark. When I lived alone, I put electrical tape over this, tells you how long ago it was, over the little dot on the VCR or on the DVD player. I would tape those lights because I was annoyed by them. I don't like night lights. I don't want to see anything. I want the room to be completely dark and I want it to be super cold. I want to sleep at 60 degrees at night if I could. and then having a couple of layers that you can put on when you sleep. So if you're cold, you layer up, and then if you start to get warm, you can layer down. And ideally, people do sleep better when it's cooler outside and it's a darker environment. Now, we have kids and we got, people that are waking up and coming in. I had a bad dream, blah, blah, blah. Night lights in the hallway, that kind of stuff, totally okay. But just try to have your room as dark as you can. And if you need some kind of noise or sound, I need something that's a little white noise. I have a fan next to the bed that I put on. Music where you're hearing people talk, that kind of stuff typically is more of a distraction than it is. But there's plenty of apps out there that are giving you, water noises or wind or the night sky or whatever. And so it's something along those lines. Some will say your cell phone shouldn't be right next to you at night. How are you going to play an app if you're doing that? So that's something you can look at. Old school, getting an alarm clock, putting it by the bedside, is a good way to go. And your phone is somewhere else. If you have a landline in case there's an emergency, all that kind of good stuff. Just give it a good think as you go through that. And then therapeutic pillows. I'm a big fan of these, making sure you have enough support for your neck. I also have one that goes between my knees, and it supports my hips and it supports my ankles. And I think that's super important because basically I'm sleeping in a vertical position on my side, if that makes sense. There's a postural alignment when we lay down. If you just lay on the floor, your body just folds and buckles and can be quite damaging if you sleep like that often. So having some supports that you can either hug or tuck in between your knees and whatnot to hold you up is a really good thing. So what do you think of all that? There's a lot of good stuff to think about. If we look at all those things and we go, wow, where are we going to find the time? Let's look into that here a little bit. You've got 168 hours in your week. If we resistance train 3 times a week, there's 165 hours there that are still remaining. If you do your 3 hours of rucking every week, which is a lot, but if you do that, you're down to 162 hours. If you spend time to lay out all your supplements and mix them up and all those things that you walk, I included time to walk up and get the supplements that are delivered and then walk back, like whatever, let's say an hour of your life to do your supplements every week. We're at 161. Now recovery, okay? We're looking at recovery. This is the red light, the massage, the therapy, the cold plunge, all of those things, right? Any of those, all of those, I gave you like an hour and 15 of that a day. So 8 hours, let's call it a week. We're down to 153 hours remaining in your week. And then sleep. If you sleep 8 hours a day, 56 hours out of the week, we're down to 97 hours remaining. That's about 14. It was 13.9 something or other, about 14 hours a day to live the rest of your life. Work, kids, family, husband, wife, friends, whatever it is that else is going on. My point is you've still got a very good, significant amount of time of life to have ahead of you if you are doing some things that are going to help prioritize your health that have been proven, whatever combinations of the majority of these, it's up to you, but a majority of these have been proven to show you're going to live a better, longer, higher quality of life. And that's what we want. We want you to be disease-free. We want you to be independent. We want you to be strong. We want you to do all of this and live as long as you can, as comfortably as you can, as independent as you can, as happy as you can, cognitively strong as you can, and to thrive into your golden years. And now that you quote unquote retire, like, man, we're just done with the work phase of your life. Let's get into the next one. It's hobby phase or it's travel phase or whatever. I want you to be strong enough to do those things. So think about that as you go through all this. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to head over to the website, this is what the page looks like when you land on it. See that little store button at the very top? Go over to trainingtheolderadult.com, click on that store button, and then scroll down and you'll see this, the call to action. Click on that. It is free, and it'll get you in and enrolled and ready to rock in our June, 19th? 13th? What was my date on that? Let me roll back just to make sure I'm giving you the right one. June 16th. Okay, June 16th will be our first one. And we'll do a half an hour. And again, these are just little microdose sessions to help teach you the call to action presentation where you can go out and talk to your community and try to change and improve and increase the quality of life for as many people around you as you can. And if that earns you some new business, that's awesome. But I want you to be armed with the same information. The goal here is what I'm trying to do is fight sarcopenia. And by enlisting all of you with the knowledge and the education to do so, we can reach so many more people out there and battle back against this disease. All right, team. I hope you appreciated. I appreciated the time. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. I appreciate you investing your time with me, and I hope you got some good stuff out of this. If you have any comments, questions, feel free, put them in the comment section below. Share this out with anybody you think that would find some good value in it, and ask them to subscribe, follow us, and help us grow our community. It's much appreciated. Until next time, what do? We continue to fight our good fight against sarcopenia, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.